welcome to Broken Range, Chappy on the Range with Pascal, Brody, Swiss Fusilier Brody.
Exactly.
And we're doing this video backwards because he was such a busy man that I couldn't pin him down until now to talk about the OGBB SRA match, the first SRA match in Switzerland, all thanks to Brody. So I'll show you the stages afterwards, see how I did. Bloke couldn't join us this time, he had the real work commitments, and so here we are with this beautiful background here, this nice moving plates of veal. So yes, Pascal, you're bringing SRA to Switzerland. How difficult was it to persuade people to let's say the important people to allow you to do it?
Honestly, not that difficult. There is a way for military associations, kind of like civilian military clubs, to arrange shooting events on military ranges. It's just a decent amount of work. And then the bigger problem is more getting on the ranges at the right time.
Okay.
Depending on where you are, it's more difficult to get on the ranges, or on ranges that are actually useful for something like that, or big enough to do a proper event. Right now, the issue we had, for example, here is that we could only get onto this range during the work week.
Okay. Yeah.
Or in the entire region, basically. We can't get them at the weekends anymore. We used to be able to, we can't do anymore. And that was also kind of the catalyst for me to say, okay, now it doesn't make sense to make an event for like 20 or 30 people anymore. Because during the work week, for like a short range training session, nobody's gonna take time off from work for that.
Yeah.
That's just not realistic, and it's also not fair to expect that from people, because we are still a militia army, we have regular day jobs, and just do a part-time service every year.
Yeah.
And then I decided, okay, if I only get it during the work week, I get a big range during the work week, make a proper event, and that's why we're here now.
There was lots of walking, especially if you walk in the wrong direction. Okay, now for me it was the first SRA match. What's the difference between a brutality match and an SRA match?
I think SRA match in general is less physically demanding. That's surely a thing. It's more towards, I think it's like in the midway between IPSC or USPSA and a brutality match.
Okay.
It's still very geared towards for service members to use the actual gear. There's still a military division similar to the Armored Plus P or TST division in brutality matches. But there's less, for example, there were no kettlebells on the stages.
No.
There was a little...
There was a dummy, there was a heavy dummy.
Yeah, but it wasn't as heavy as a person.
No.
It wasn't insanely heavy. It was just enough to actually be a little bit demanding, but not something... It's basically a match that most people can do from basically all age brackets if you're in a decent physical condition.
Yeah. I mean, the Panzerfaust was... I don't know how heavy is that? That was pretty heavy.
Pretty heavy, but I couldn't...
You don't carry it far, but
yeah,
it's heavy. Yeah.
I couldn't tell you the exact number because someone would correct me.
Yeah, and yeah, so this was presenting something interesting because we got to play with some interesting toys. So the Panzerfaust, okay, it was the practice tube insert, but still. Then we had the Mini-Me. Was that easy to procure?
Relatively, yeah. You can basically procure it about the same way as you would procure like shelter halves or like the red white tapes. You just need to make an order with the local logistical base, and you need to have a proper use for it, and you need to prove that yes. First off, you need to prove you have a range, and you actually there's like an internal government like website or program where you can arrange.
I'd like to have 2 Mini-Me's.
Kind of, yeah, that's a basic rundown, yeah.
Okay.
You can order, and then it's always a chance of, okay, what do you get? Yeah.
Nice. Okay, and what's the future like? So is this going to be, you hope, a regular event, annual event, or maybe more?
The next step for me is definitely trying to get in contact with different officers' associations from different regions in Switzerland. There's other associations who do also like dynamic shooting competitions, but I would like to try and work together with them to maybe all get them onto the same rule set to get a little bit more structure in the thing. That's the next step. There will the people really enjoyed the match this year, so
Yep.
I will make sure, or will try my best to make a match next year as well.
Okay. And you did a long interview with the Swiss military PA, I guess.
Yeah,
both.
it is the official Swiss military podcast.
Yeah.
I was on, yes.
I'll put a link in case you want to listen. It is in German, of course.
High German, yes, but
High
I
German.
think the subtitles are not too bad. I
Okay,
believe.
so I'll put a link if you want to watch the full thing. So what was the feedback from that?
It's hard to say. I need to check the feedback I got today, the feedback form. I got, up until the podcast, the match was probably half full, a little more than half. And after the match, it took like 1 or 2 weeks and the match was full.
Nice.
So barely 2 weeks and the match was full.
So
now it's hard to say if it's because of the podcast or people who were thinking about signing up, realizing, oh, maybe there's only a few spaces left and then deciding to join up. Hard to say. I'll have to check the feedback.
But no traditionalists going, we don't want any of this.
Not at all. So far, not a single negative feedback.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
Okay. So well, thank you again for organising this amazing event.
Thank you very much for coming out.
It was well worth taking time off, even in the middle of the week. And so next I'll try and talk you through the stages a bit and then see how I got on. And so stay tuned and we'll go on to the next one.
Bye.
Let's talk gear for those who are interested. I was in the military division. That is the equivalent to the TST Armoured in brutalities. As you probably realise by now, I enjoy the physical side just as much as the shooting. So for this, I had to carry 12 kilos of gear, and there's a list of minimum items you need to carry. So this was a helmet, plate carrier, combat ruck, 3 30-round magazines or 4 20-round rifle magazines. Interesting to note, the Swiss infantry are issued as standard 20-round magazines, which I found interesting. You have to have a rifle sling. For your pistol, you need at least 2 15-rounders or 3 9-round magazines. Again, this is a Swiss speciality because some people are still issued P75 pistols, so the Sig Sauer P220, which is a single stack 9-round pistol. At least 1 litre of water, bayonet or knife with a 9+ centimetre blade, torch or weapon light, gloves, and of course IFAK, which will include at least a tourniquet and a quick bandage. So how did I apply that gear list to myself? Well, trousers are UF Pro. Use these everywhere for hiking, even in summer. They've got a clever ventilation system at the knees. It's surprising, but it works. And they're one of the few companies that cater for my peculiar leg to waist ratio. So if you've got duct disease like me, they have you covered. On top, I have the Vartaleka TST Level 4 shooting shirt, combat shirt. This has some nice ventilated areas under the arms, chest, and the back. Now, as good as this is, you know, the slightest gust of breeze, you will feel it through this mesh and even under the plate carrier. But it is very, very sensitive to abrasion, especially from Velcro. So you have to take care when putting on your chest rig or any other pouches that have got the hooks that gets damaged quite quickly. It's a trade-off. You don't want to have something, you want something that's super ventilated. It's not necessarily going to be very resistant to abrasion. Then chest rig, just a chest rig. Inside, front and back, I have 2.5 kilo practice polymer plates. So they're the blue plastic plates. They're not ballistically rated. I just literally have them for the weight. On the back, there is a small combat rucksack with my 2.5 litres. You're only supposed to have, well, minimum is 1, but I prefer to have 2, so then I can actually drink from it. Then on the front, I have my mag racks. These are Dominion Defence, old Dominion Defence, Canadian-made magazines for the SIG 550. I have no problem whatsoever with them after many, many years of use. And yeah, that's it on here. Combat shooting belts. I have for the pistol a standard Glock Gen 5, cut and fitted with an Acro P2. And I fulfilled the light requirement by having a light on the pistol itself. This is a Holosun PID not the one with the laser, because they have a problem with lasers here, too many sci-fi movies. Maybe that will change in the future. So yeah, so I've got the light requirement fitted on the pistol, and it is going in a Safariland holster. It just does what it says on the tin. When I did the training for the pistol, so to be rated to take part in the competition with a pistol, there was a list of allowed holsters by the Swiss Armed Forces, so this one was on it, so I got it. Nothing good or bad to say about it, it works. And then on the rest, I have a tourniquet, a dump pouch, ouch pouch, and a bayonet for the Sturmgewehr 90, which I have added a bungee to so it doesn't slap around on my thigh or ass when I'm running around. Now, I have a bit of a dilemma with the dump pouch because of my awkward handedness. So, as many of you have remarked, I shoot pistol left-handed, which means I would tend to grab the magazine with my right hand. So I would have the dump pouch pretty on the right hip, but I shoot rifle right-handed, so I tend to grab the magazine and reloading with the left hand, which means the dump pouch should be on my left hip. So compromise is that it's in the middle, which is the not the best of both worlds. So I have it just in case I need it to dump something more, to dump other things in there than mags, and I just put the mags back in these fast holders here. I find them faster, more effective, and all I have to do is remember which ones I've already used. So that's it. And finally, yeah, rifle, didn't have much choice. Sturmgewehr 90. I could have used a Sturmgewehr 57, but maybe next time. But yeah, this is the rifle I've used now 2 brutalities, and now this match served me well. No malfunctions whatsoever. The usual combo here on top, Holosun 503 and a 3x magnifier. Maybe something else would have been better for the distances we shot at, as you'll see in a bit, but it served me well enough. I decided to spare myself a couple of 100 grams or so by removing the B&T quad rail I had for winter brutality, because here there was no chance I was going to need a weapon light here on the fore end, so reverted back to the traditional plastic. So there we go. And perhaps the new addition is that there was a helmet requirement. Well, it wasn't really a requirement, but it was recommended as it's an easy way to total up the weight, and that was one of the reasons why I decided also to join the helmet club. This is a Protection Group Denmark high cut helmet, and yeah, I figured it's a comfortable helmet and it's an easy way to carry 1.5 to 2 kilos depending on what stuff you put on top without really feeling it. And yeah, this is the first time I'd really worn a helmet in a competition, except for years ago. I wore a French helmet when I was shooting the FAMAS. Anyway, with modern helmet, basically you'd forget it's there. I was surprised that how well it fits, and I wasn't really overheating in it despite having the sun on my head all day. So very pleased. It's one of these buy once, cry once situations. Not cheap, but I think they're very well designed, very comfortable, and yeah, well worth the investment in the end. So some of you may remark, well, why are you just in green? Where's the French camo? Well, one of the conditions to me taking part, having no connections whatsoever to any armed forces in active or reserve or anything else, was that since this was a military range, I could only take part if I was wearing neutral colours. So green, I could have worn black, grey, brown, whatever, as long as it's not camouflage. And this only applied to the big areas, so your clothes, plate carrier, helmet cover if there was one. So things like pouches, magazines, the sling, that was fine, that could be whatever you wanted, but the big surfaces had to have no camo whatsoever. But that was a very tiny price to pay to be able to take part at all. This was actually the last stage of the day, but it was a great stage because you had buildings, elevation, grenades, running, the lot. So here in the first position, we had 2 static targets and then 1 moving target, which we had to fire at. Now the instructions were engage the static targets first and then the moving targets. The problem there was that the moving targets could only be shot between 2 posts, so there was a firing zone. And if you're unlucky, by the time you dealt with the static targets, like me, the moving targets were beyond the allowable shooting range. So you had a choice, either to just take the miss and carry on, or wait for them. So I decided to wait for them. This was then subsequently changed to all the other shooters, and then it was then again engage the 3 targets in any order you wish. So if the moving target happened to be in the beaten zone at the right point, then engage that first, so you didn't have to wait for it. So I was unlucky being the guinea pig there. Once you've done that, which I forgot, remove the mag and then take 1 shot on one of the static targets for a bonus, which I missed. The rifle is now empty, 180 doesn't apply, and I can hurry up the stairs. And then we do exactly the same thing, but now we have a bit of elevation. I don't know why I struggled so much on those targets. They were about 200 meters. I shot at other targets at that range throughout the day, and didn't have as much trouble as I did then, so no problem. No idea why. Here again, I got busted by the moving targets. I had to wait, and you'll see them appearing on the right in a minute. But I must say that I had the lead just right. So here I'm waiting for them.
Same point of view as before.
Here they come. Boom, down it goes. Then you've got the high value shot. And this again, great. Once again, 180 is not applying. And then we're going to head forward, and it's time for grenades. These are practice grenades, obviously, but and inside there is essentially a percussion cap with a small black powder charge inside a cartridge. The pin is surprisingly hard to remove, so yeet that in, wait till it goes bang, boom, and then in we go. Screech of frustration there is me getting the sling caught in my helmet. So once we're in there, there are 2 normal IPSC targets at about 100 meters. You can shoot as many times as you like, but the 2 best hits on each target count. And then there was a high value target, which was an IPSC target with mostly top and bottom blacked out, so no shoot zones, and so you have to take a careful shot at that target. Happy to report that all the hits there were alphas. And now we see that Pascal is a true officer because he does not run. They have trouble keeping up with me, these young whippersnappers. Okay, and at the final stage, or the final stage of the stage, there were 2 groups of 4 pistol targets. Again, this was take as many shots as you like, and the best 2 on each target will count. This one I could have taken more care, to be honest. There weren't difficult shots. Yeah, there were not as many alphas as I would have liked. But there we go. That was the last stage of a very long day.
If you're finished, unload and show clear.
This was the first stage of the day, full of beans, and this was a full-on brutality stage. There's tunnels, trench system, dummies, tourniquets, all sorts of fun. So there we go. You get in there, you have to watch the 180 when you're running with your rifle, and this was the first time I was facing jockey targets at, well, starting, the furthest one was about 350 meters. So that was a, yeah, shoulders and up torso. So quite challenging target to start with, but I got it. And then I've got the next 3 in a diagonal row to get. I got those actually relatively quickly. There you go. Safety on, and then we got to help Paul Lepley, who's our oppo, who owes us a beer. So we have to save his life because I'm not paying for that beer. So this is true brutality style. Apply the tourniquet properly, or you will get a penalty. So full on, 3 turns. Hook it under. Apply the safety Velcro. Here we have to watch the 180 when we're grabbing our rifle. And off we go to another shooting position, taking old Lepley with us. And then I have to engage the group of 4, the little group of 4 in a square on the right. So here we go. Range is probably 250. Yeah, maybe 200 to 250. For some reason, this group caused me more problems than the straight row. Got to that last target. Come on. Bit of a shuffle.
Hey! Left rifle.
Boom. Rifle safe. Carry on dragging Lepley until he's under cover here in the tunnel. Then we can drop him. And then we have to leg it down to the last position. There off camera I rebounded off the wall. And put a nice hole in the elbow of my nice new shooting shirt. And once we've reached final position, we have to engage all targets. Any order, just shoot them all. Now that second target I just hit there is slightly taller than the others, and that was a handy reference point for those who had zeroing trouble. So you could at least see if you're shooting high or low on that target. But all the rest were the, I'd say, half torso and up.
Finished. Unload and show clear.
There now follows a public service announcement from the Bloke Broadcasting Corporation.
Sorry for the interruption. Just want to remind you guys of the History of Weapons and War streaming service, where we have 10 different channels of historical, educational, small arms content with more than 6,000 videos, including exclusive and expanded content. Things including shooting.
SRA.
You ready for this? Reloading.
The rim diameter. Now just
Expert discussion.
I mean,
Oh, look at this!
Deep dive information.
Which is effectively what it is.
Join today, get your first week free. Check it out.
Shooters ready.
This was a fantastic stage. So here we have the first shooting position, engaging a vertical row of 3 targets, which we have to engage twice, but not consecutively. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And this was probably total distance, including the range. I would say it was about 400 meters. So that was quite a challenging shoot. And this was where a lot of people expended an awful lot of ammunition. It got better. It seemed to get better as you progressed forward. You got a bit of the range, a feeling for the distance and the targets. But yeah, this first barricade here saw a lot of brass flying. So once you've done those, you grab the Panzerfaust. I got Pascal. I got the translation tank fist in Pascal's head, and now he can't forget it. Okay, now second line from the left. Here I was perfectly on point.
Hit! 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 Hit!
One shot, one hit. Nice. Yes, I am very proud of that. Now, if we go Panzerfaust and we dump that in the red box, jump in the trench. Once again, careful with the 180 when doing that. And then we engage the third line of targets.
On the third row. Hit!
Okay, calm down.
Hit! Hit! Hit!
Okay, so when I've done that, I can place the rifle in a safe direction, head over to the real Panzerfaust, which has a practice insert in there. There's basically a 300 blackout tracer round in there, which is with the same trajectory as a real Panzerfaust. Aim at 200 meters, and there's a big black flap, vaguely in the shape of a tank, that drops down if you hit. And then we engage the final row of 3 targets. Again, this was the Arrow match. In the original, in the real match, the competitor had to grab the rifle and go to the same position where the Panzerfaust was shot from.
Good job.
Okay, here we start with the Mini-Me with a belt of 30 rounds. And here the drill was, there were 6 targets that you had to try and engage. If you hit 2 of them, you got 10 points bonus. And then you could try and hit the rest. And if there were any targets left of that group of 6, the lower group of 6, you had to go to the last position and engage them with the rifle. So I promptly forgot that, and I hit the first 2, and then I thought, yay, I could just burn through the belt, and then suddenly remembered, oh no, I can use those rounds. So that was wasted. I think I would have got that last one because I had the aim down pat, just above the right shoulder. So I had 1 target left to engage on the lower group. If I'd paid attention, I could have just grabbed my rifle, sprung out of the trench and gone to the next position. So I paid for my overexcitement. But hey, come on guys, it's a Mini-Me. It takes me a little while to get that target as well. I had difficulty finding it. It was just at a distance where the magnifier was great, but also a little too close, so that was weird. So out of the trench, then we run to another position. It was pretty cool that it was a substantial distance you had to run, not just a forward dash 50 meters or so. It was a proper run, get you sweating. And from this position, there was 2 diagonal rows of targets up at the back, which you can probably see it. So I had to engage those. Distance, probably about 300 meters, I would guess. So this was just straight down, prone, more or less target shooting. Once those are done, we have a nice big run again. Just get the blood pumping. And then we dive into a trench. Well, almost dropped the rifle there. That would have been embarrassing. And from this position, we have to engage all 12 targets. And I was very happy to have 30 round mags rather than the average Swiss who have their 20 round mags. Generally they would have two clipped together, or two groups of two clipped together, and then they would have the odd single 20 round mags scattered around in pouches and bags.
Last target. Just right of it. Hit! Good job. Unload. Show clear.
And this was the last stage, and in fact I did that on day 2 because we didn't have time to do it during the pre-match, so I was dead tired. I just wanted to get it over and done with. This was a basic pistol stage. There's some IPSC targets, there's some no-shoots. The green poppers you have to shoot, you have to engage and knock over before you can progress between the two boxes, so you can only shoot from within the wooden box. The walls or the slats there are a solid wall, and you just have to work your way through it. Now the targets were as in stage 1, you could shoot them as many times as you like, and the best score on each target would be counted. To be frank, I was tired. I basically went for a minimalist round count. I only kind of twigged that I could shoot more towards the end of this stage, and I definitely could have put some more rounds on each target. The no-shoots were easy to avoid, but I definitely would have got a higher score if I'd paid attention and pumped a few more rounds into each target. So that was it for the pre-match, the RO match, and then the next day we all got to work and made sure that everyone had a good and safe time during the main match. And as Brody has said, the feedback has been 100% positive. Now we had a couple of foreign guests as well. There was a Swedish contingent, 5-6 of them, and also a couple of Finns, because they kind of pop up like mushrooms whenever there's a shooting competition in Europe. And they brought, of course, a wealth of experience and watched the whole thing, gave a wealth of feedback because they're, of course, very used to these kind of matches. So hopefully there'll be some good tips to apply for next time to make it bigger, better, more efficient, and so on. Now, there were only a few mechanical problems on the stages that we managed to get around. The jockey targets sometimes were not playing ball. We lost one of our tank targets on Achtung Panzer. It's okay, we just moved to the other one. So yeah, a couple of things that needed to be ironed out, but nothing significant. Now the foreign contingent, for the moment, were not allowed to bring their service rifles. Pistols, maybe they would have done. They chose not to just because it was easier to fly. So there's more latitude in what you can use for pistols because there's a lot of different pistols in Swiss service. For the rifles, not really the case, unless essentially you're in police or special forces. So 99% of the competitors were using their duty Sturmgewehr 90. There were a couple of guys from the police. One of them had an AR, another one had an APC, a B&T APC in 5.56. And that was pretty much the only deviation. Depending on what category you were in, you were either shooting irons or you were shooting with whatever mix of optics you wanted. The Swedes and the Finns didn't have too much luck. Well, actually, the Swedes didn't have too much luck. They were using some cairn scopes, so four times magnification, which is super vintage gear. Really great to see on the rifles. However, the zeroing didn't really go to plan, and they had a lot of trouble initially during the match. So much so that essentially they ended up sharing one rifle because it was the only one in which seemed to have kept it zero from the previous day where we had a zeroing range day. So it was unfortunate for them. The Finns seemed to have better luck. Their rifles seemed to be keeping zero. Whether that's something that's going to change in the future, maybe, but I don't think it's going to change very quickly. What I do hope is that that if they do invite foreign service people that they can bring their service firearms in as long as they can practically do so. Because, yeah, using a borrowed rifle, especially when you're shooting at those ranges, it's not great, to be frank. My personal impressions of the match, I really loved it. I love the challenge of the long distance shots. It was interesting to do with this scope, well, rather with this dot. Yeah, it could be better. I'd zeroed it at 400 meters at 50. I would have liked to have some time to actually zero it at 300. So I had to do a couple of adjustments. I usually took 2 shots to get my hits. So I would like to reduce that, apart from one string on Achtung Panzer where I did 1 shot, 1 hit 6 times. That's about the only time where it really clicked. But it was interesting because you had to gauge distance essentially from both ends, because you were moving forward, and also the targets, there was a maximum of 100 meters between them. So they looked like on Achtung Panzer, you had a series of 3 series of 3, and between the front and the rear was 100 meters, so 250 to 350. Plus you as yourself are moving forward probably a total of 50. So yeah, you had to gauge, and I usually took 1 shot to see where that would land and then adjust the elevation appropriately. So Kentucky windage upwards. So that's something that I would like to improve. Or maybe I noticed that people that had a good BDC and they'd done their homework, like Brody, cheat, they could adjust and had a far higher hit rate. So maybe an optic for that kind of range, yeah, maybe that's something to look into for next time. It was interesting on that note, on optics, that it was interesting to note that many people actually were just using irons. So they just used their standard duty rifle, which doesn't have an optic as standard. And I would honestly say they were not at a disadvantage. In terms of time, they were not significantly slower than people with optics, and their round count was significantly less. So they were taking the time window that the optics people were using to put 1, 2, 3 shots down range and sort of dial in the shot. They were just taking 1 shot, but a good one. And so in the end, it evened out. So there was no significant disadvantage of using irons. Pistol stages, I didn't really see, and it's hard to gauge from the scores because I don't know what people were using. So I don't know if there was any particular influence on pistol stages. Fortunately, I did my both pistol stages at the end of both days where I was already shattered. So I could have done a lot better in those, but I had got past the point of caring at that point. So maybe next time, if I can have the pistol stages a bit mixed in with the others, not have it as the last stage, then maybe hopefully I can do better. Perhaps my only suggestion would be not have so many long range stages, maybe 2 out of the 3 that we had, but then have an intermediate stage, so intermediate distance stage with perhaps easier shots, but slightly more difficult physical challenges or course that you have to navigate, or a task or something, just to make it a little bit more fast paced. Because essentially the long distance shots is you get down, you get prone, you get comfy, and you go through a series of shots. So 3 stages like that in a row, yeah, you need a little bit more variation in my opinion. But yeah, that's pretty much the only minor fault I can find with the entire match, and that's just down to stage design. So thank you very much for watching. I think I will stop now because I'm going to go around in circles. And thank you for whatever platform you are following us on, and I shall see you either back here or out yonder. Bye.